If you were to ask me, hey Ron, tubes or solid state, go. Well, I'm here to tell you that while I feel both definitely have their advantages, and at the end of the day could come down to what you're going for with your system, I am, and most likely always will be, a tube guy. My first audiophile system had tubes, and growing up playing guitar, I owned quite a few tube amps. For me, they just sound right. And the moment I walked into the Chapman room at the show in Newport, I knew there was going to be something worth chatting about besides the wonderful sounding Chapman T5s. After a quick chat with Justin Weber, I exchanged contact info, and for the rest of the dang show, I couldn't help but wonder, how in the heck are the guys at Ampsandsound cranking out monoblocks around 3K? Well, folks, after having the Casablancas in-house for the last few months, I can confirm with great authority that not only are they doing it, they're doing it quite well. Not ready to drop 3 big bills for monoblocks or don't need 50 watts of tube grip? Not a problem. They also sent over the 15-watt EL84 bass stereo 15 that cuts the cost nearly in half and leaves the music definitely intact. Folks, a warm welcome back to New Record Day. Let's get this show on the road and check these babies out. Priced at $3,200 with a full tube set, the Casablancas are a push-pull all-tube monoblock that allows your choice of KT88s or 6550s, giving the full glory of 50 bone-crushing tube watts or 40 watts when dropping in EL34s. The pair that came to me was shipped with 6550s, and Justin went all out with NOS tubes handling the rest of the complement, including the front-end 12AX7. Coming in at $1,800, the Stereo 15 comes equipped with an EL84 tube complement and again, a push-pull design. Spec'd at 15 watts RMS, I'm going to make this clear right off the bat. When paired with the right speaker, it sounds way more powerful than you're thinking. When Justin makes claims of peaks of 42 watts, I not only hear it, I feel it. On the front end, the Stereo 15 uses half of a 12AX7 and half of a 12BH7 per channel, and a host of many options for tube rectifiers. Talking with Justin, he mentioned that customizing the tone of the Stereo 15 could be as easy as experimenting with a single rectifier tube, adding to the value of the already reasonably priced Stereo 15. Speaking of value, all the tubes needed to get the party started are included. Build quality on both units are top-notch, and Justin's partner in crime, Ryan Moses, completes the package with woodworking skills that will make you want to get these out on display in a quick hurry. Both amps come standard with 4 and 8 ohm taps and can be configured for other ohm options with a simple email to Justin. Parts and labor are sourced in America, and the transformers are built to spec from Transcender Transformers. Ampsandsound ditches point-to-point wiring and uses PCBs for consistent sound quality and easy repairs when needed. Bottom line, Ampsandsound brings classic circuits to life with a modern approach, paying attention to what really matters, sound quality that will leave your bank accounts intact along with your marriage.
New Record Day.
The first evening I dropped the needle with the Casablancas, I swore I heard a tone that I initially described as being dark. Landing on this description made perfect sense, as a phone call confirmed the tubes were brand spanking new, and the amps only had about 10 hours on them. Within a day or two of constant playing, things changed, and they opened up to show off a detail-rich soundscape that picks fights with some of the best solid-state designs I've had in-house. Bass has been a strong suit of the Casablancas from the first moments of hearing Counting Crows' Mr. Jones, and the dynamic impact in Basstown is easily worth celebrating when it comes to their sound signature. Leading into mid-bass and lower mid-range, the Casas threw a soundstage that sounded similar to my Rogue Stereo 100, but gave a tad more heft to the vocals and a punch in the mid-bass. If you're searching for a classic tube sound, these are going to leave you satisfied, and detail freaks will get what they're looking for at the same time. Like any good tube amp should, the majority of the midband does sound a tad forward and gives that holographic stage that I freaking love. Texture and tone is delivered in midair, giving vocals a beautiful pocket to play from. My oh my, we are off to a good start. Knowing the Stereo 15 wouldn't be the right amp to get my gallows rocking, I threw the Spatial M3s into the mix that just came in. Rated at 95 decibels of sensitivity, I knew this was going to get things cooking, but I gotta say, I wasn't quite prepared for one of the better tag team combos that I have ever heard. The 99 Super Magnum combined with the Stereo 15 did exchange some top-end detail for bite in the vocals that smashed their way through the mix. Classic tube majesty in the mid-range? Yeah, that's exactly how I would describe the lava-flowing magic that pours straight from the heart of the Stereo 15. The Spatials already throw a forward holographic soundstage, and when backed by the Stereo 15, they had the ability to push every good button in my body. Fast articulate bass? Yep. Sexy velvety mid-range? You know it. Musical top end without sounding shrill? Glad you asked, folks, 'cause this is it. This is the real deal. The cat's pajamas. The music-making, fist-bumping, musical-achieving combo that you gotta hear. Lightning in a bottle, baby. Open only if you dare. Swapping back to the Casablanca Gallo combo, I dropped the needle on Etta James' Tell Mama to see if my first impressions of the Casas showing off a greater level of detail on top to be accurate. Within 10 seconds, I was convinced that I was pretty much spot on with my initial observations. Without a doubt, the Casablancas armed with 6550s do provide a beautifully extended top end. Horns sound realistic and shatter through the mix when asked. Vocals pop out of pitch-black backgrounds with laser line accuracy. Folks that believe all tube amps all sound warm and boring need to check these things out, because I can assure you, they will definitely change your mind. Unlike the Casablancas, I think the top end of the Stereo 15 is closer to neutral warm territory, and while they certainly don't sound like a Snorville campfire, they also won't leave you reaching for earmuffs when you're cranking Metallica. Being a detail freak myself, I'm surprised at just how refreshing it is to hear less of a typical, cookie-cutter hi-fi top end in exchange for something more musical. Cymbal hits sound pleasant, and I don't find myself missing the ice picks tossed my way when cranking the music to concert-level volumes. Tossing on Ben Howard's Every Kingdom and dropping the needle, I heard something quite familiar and realized this combo was sounding a lot like my own reference Stereo 100 in the midband. Again, with slightly more forward vocals and a couple notches on the detailed side of the swimming pool, these are a fantastic option for those looking for classic tube sound, packed full of excitement and plenty of detail. The Casablancas won't sound chubby or over-the-top campfire warm, and I would argue a bit more linear or straight edge throughout the upper octaves in midtown. With the Stereo 15 Spatial combo, this was a meteor-sounding mid-range, with bite that celebrated dynamics to the extreme. In fact, when cranking to levels that reached the high 90s, the only thing the Stereo 15 left me wanting was more EL 84 goodness. Guitars sound snappy and percussive, vocals break through the mix with fat authority, and drums smack you upside the head with precision and speed. At the same time, the Stereo 15 does play romantic when asked, and dropping the needle on the likes of Norah Jones, you will need a few minutes alone to yourself. I mean, to enjoy the music, of course. Come on, guys, let's keep it PG. Kidding aside, a traditional velvety mid-range will greet you with well-recorded material and give way to vocals suspended in mid-air. Textures and midtones will decorate the soundstage with maturity and sound pleasing to the ear without an ounce of fatigue even after hours of listening. The bass of the Casablancas is easily one of my favorite attributes of the amp's signature tone. Just as robust and powerful as what I'm accustomed to hearing with my Stereo 100, I'm convinced anyone looking for fantastic bass dynamics will walk away totally satisfied. Do they slam as hard as some top shelf solid state or Class D amps out there? Well, probably not. But it's been my experience that there is a tone signature that comes with the mighty Casablancas that's just plain addicting. Tossing on Pines of Rome and preparing myself for everything the Casablancas have to offer, they invoked deep, gut-busting, bottom-of-the-barrel octaves that threw a punch hard enough to knock down a brick wall. Driving the gallows was a walk in the park for the Casas, and knowing the demands of the 3.1 so well, I'm feeling comfortable enough to recommend these monoblocks for just about any speaker that I know of. Tossing on Dire Straits Ride Across the River provided a level of bass speed, transient attack, accuracy, and tone that is world-class performance with the Stereo 15 and Spatial combo. I gotta say, this is easily the benchmark of what reference class bass sounds like when gear is thoughtfully considered and paired well. As the kick drum hits, you're able to detect the attack and decay, hearing the details of the room's response to the initial hit and trailing reverb. The bass guitar's lowest notes feel every single crack and crevice in the room, and just when you are comfortable, it's gone without a trace of slow, boomy resonance. Folks who think it's impossible to get fast bass from tube amps need to take a road trip to Mesa, Arizona, and let me introduce you to my little friend. The Stereo 15 will be more than delighted to correct you. By now you are probably thinking, okay, Ron, so the Stereo 15 is obviously a great match with higher sensitivity speakers, where the Casablancas would be best for hard-to-drive speakers like the Gallows. Well, not so fast there, Speed Racer. The Casablancas will certainly bring its A-game to a wide variety of speakers regardless of sensitivity and load options. Case in point, things got pretty interesting when turning a corner and tossing in the Ryan R610s. Starting with the Stereo 15, which took the role of a young prize fighter, first year in the ring, he comes out swinging the second he hears the bell, light on his feet and prepared to pounce while creating a speedier or peppy presentation. Bass dynamics were agile, mid-range had bite, and the top end did come across a tad edgy when reaching higher volumes. Was the prize fighter gassing out when pushing the Ryans? Well, not really, but I'll say this kind of combo would work better for conservative volume levels of apartment dwellers, or those packing the goods into smaller-sized rooms. When swapping to the Casablancas, the fighter transitioned to an old legend, coming out of retirement, long forgotten and often overlooked. When the bell rings and he steps to the center, the crowd is quickly reminded why his name is Champ. There is no rival to his 9 rounds of victory without breaking a sweat. To clarify, the Casablancas pumped blood to the Ryans that was mature and able to toss a more involved soundstage. If authority is key and you want that classic tube sound without sacrificing top-end extension, the mighty Blancas will be tough to beat. From top to bottom, the Casas showed off all-American muscle, and when combined with the R610's fantastic extension, this combo was throwing blows that would drop a great white's jaw and rattle away all 300 teeth. Also, if the assumption was made that the Casablancas didn't pair well with the Spatials, let me address that right now. The Stereo 15 and Spatial combo speaks to great value, which is why I spent a lot of time covering it. The Casablancas invoked deeper bass from the Spatials and a stronger mid-bass. And I'd imagine with swapping out some tubes, I'll bet you dollars to donuts you could probably cover even more ground. In fact, I would say the same with just about any speaker you decide to pair up with the Casablancas. My only feedback for the guys at Ampsandsound is more of a heads up to those who decide to make the purchase. The 5-way binding posts for the speaker terminals use a plastic nut to lock down the cable. I found the plastic to be a little slick when using spade connectors and thought it was worth mentioning. It would be cool if Ampsandsound was to offer something similar to the Magnum series at Rogue, and give us heavy-duty gold-plated connections as an upgrade option. At the end of the day, folks, both amps offer a soundstage that is true tube magic, and anyone searching for holographic goodness won't be disappointed with their purchase. Using the AVA ABX Comparator, I was able to A&B both amps with the press of a button. Spending some time and comparing my notes with what I heard in my A/B tests, I feel extremely confident my impressions are spot on with both offerings. The Casablancas definitely throw a stronger stage and do offer noticeably blacker backgrounds. There were times when swapping back and forth, I could hear a noise floor drop, leaving you alone with instruments piercing the leftover silence of the mighty Casablancas. Does it make them better than the Stereo 15? Well, no, not really. And look, if I've left you confused on which one to buy or which one is better, well, I apologize, but I'm kind of in the same boat. I think the choice of amplifier should come down to speaker sensitivity and what sound signature you're hoping to achieve. Demanding loads or looking for versatility with that classic tube experience? Go with the Casablancas. Higher sensitivity reaching into the mid-90s, or maybe a smaller system where you have a hot top end? Well, the Stereo 15 would be my pick. Either way, folks, a new Record Day review doesn't end on a more positive note, and this is for a dang good reason. Ampsandsound is here. They have already arrived. Both the Casablancas and Stereo 15 have the highest recommendation that I could possibly give.